Emerce eDay podcast.
Welcome, Chuck. So I just watched your presentation about artificial intelligence and content, and that really fascinates me because I'm a content guy myself. I have actually a business producing content all the time. And well, my first question is, how real is this at this time? How artificial is the intelligence, and how intelligent is it?
Well, it's quite real, and it's difficult sometimes to separate fact from fantasy. So many organizations right now, because of the buzz in IT, are slapping AI on their brand. We're often asked, come on, is it really AI? Acrolinx was founded out of the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, DFKI, and it is the core of what we do. And it's our ability to, forget about grammar and spell check. It's our ability to impact tone of voice and dial in style so that you're effectively targeting the personas you want to target that separates us from other companies in this space.
How do you do that?
We do it really by two ways. The first is, as I mentioned, the tone of style, tone of voice. But it's really the at-scale component that drives this, where we can deploy Acrolinx through our technology to thousands of desktops simultaneously. And that separates us from everybody else. In the presentation, one of the things I mentioned was on brand, on target, and at scale. On brand and at target, there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can hire editors, you can hire a marketing agency to write your content, that's fine. At scale, where you have hundreds, if not thousands of writers and external agencies, there's no other way to do it.
Okay, so is this a product, is it like a typical enterprise product, or could SMEs also benefit from this?
SMEs is really a challenge, and that challenge is really twofold. One, as I mentioned, except for the at-scale, there's other ways to do this that are frankly less expensive, and there's also you need to justify at some point the cost. And if you have 5 writers in a small to mid-sized enterprise, it would be very difficult to justify the upfront investment of what we do.
All right, because what are you talking about, ballpark figure? 20 to 25 days of implementation is what I think.
Yeah, so that in itself is about 50,000 euros, and then the license and software cost on top of that. So you're looking at entry level is 80 to 100,000 euros. So that's why we focus on large enterprise. Our sweet spot are technology-rich industries, so technology, manufacturing, aerospace, medical devices, financial services, and companies that have large content creation groups.
How do these companies benefit from AI? Because what I understood from your presentation is that, of course, you first put in your goals, and then you governance, you govern, you help them to control the whole process. So it's basically the normal content strategy stages, and then you have governance in the end, and analytics probably. So where does the benefit come from?
The benefit can vary by industry. So if you're looking at manufacturing, technical documentation is a key area of focus for us. Ensuring clarity of written content in technical documentation. At first glance, you might think, well, is that really important? In an annual subscription business, if a manufacturing piece of equipment is not effectively installed and that is delayed, what does that cost the business? If you're a technology company and you're having trouble implementing a software package and that results in calls to your help desk, each one of those phone calls costs money. Right? Financial services, one of the reasons that's been an explosive industry for us for the last 2 years, are regulatory issues. Where, if your language isn't clear, and if you have mistakes there, it can cost you millions of dollars. And then finally, as we talked about in the presentation, the impact on marketing and brand. One of the things that's been exciting from a perspective of working at Acrolinx is the evolution we've made in the past few years, really primarily being focused on technical documentation and our ROI always having to be driving efficiencies and saving money to now working with marketing organizations where we can actually impact customer satisfaction or top of funnel pipeline growth, and we're impacting the top line in figures that are exponential compared to the cost savings we drive in post-sale tech docs.
Okay, so it's quite different from grammar tools. Like I use Grammarly, for example, fantastic tool if I write in English. So how would you compare to that? Because that's maybe people know spell checkers and Grammarly. And between that and artificial intelligence that actually writes copy instead of a human being, still pretty far away. How far away is that?
That's not our intent.
No.
Often, and I know there were a couple of questions in there, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Tackling that one, that's not what our intent is, and that's not the business result we're trying to drive. This is not about replacing editorial staff, right? But if we can take the really basic stuff off their plates and let them focus on more impactful business activities, doesn't that impact the business more? That's what we're not trying to replace people, we're trying to make them more efficient. And I'm sorry, I don't recall at this point your first.
No, basically, what you're explaining is that it's a tool. It's like a GPS that helps you to write better and stay on brand and stay on message. And at a very big scale. That's the main. That the scale is.
The scale is critical because that is what differentiates us. There's no other way to solve that problem. You mentioned Grammarly and companies like Congri. They're certainly organizations that we respect. But if one of my salespeople comes to me and says we're in a competitive situation with Grammarly, I tell them we're talking to the wrong people, trying to solve the wrong business issue, because what we do in terms of tone of voice and style, which is so difficult to get right, it's a different conversation than grammar and spell check. If we're in a competitive situation with one of those companies, I say let's not.
I understand, because it's personal. I mean, it's customized for the client. Their tone of voice is inputted into the system. And all the writers, even external writers, they are assisted to get the text right according to these style guides, basically.
Exactly.
Now, you're here in Holland at a Dutch event, so I suspect you must be working on the Dutch version because our language is really freaky. How's that going to work? We always lag behind with all this artificial. Also, spell checking is also terrible in Dutch. How is it doing? How are you going along?
Yeah, that is something, as I alluded to in the presentation, that we are working on. Right now, we have 5 core languages that we are where we can correct tone of voice, and those are British English, American English, German, Swedish, and Chinese. Currently under development are Dutch, Portuguese, and Spanish, Castilian Spanish.
Okay, so that you're here. And that you're investing in an event like this obviously means that you take Holland seriously.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing your product on the Dutch market. Thank you very much.
Emerce eDay Podcast.
Voor meer afleveringen ga je naar iTunes, Soundcloud of YouTube. De Emerce eDay Podcast is proudly powered by voicebooking.com.